I hope this will satisfy the the audience. And I was just wondering why I'm in this forum when I applied this paper for the school track. But anyway, perhaps they found sense in this paper. Now, in the Philippines, the Department of Education recommend minimum learning competencies to achieve curriculum aims in the social studies. However, instructional approaches are hardly prescribed. So schools most often end up going for instructional approaches which aim for coverage and heavily rely on textbooks. It's the surest and safest way to pass tests and satisfy accreditation requirements. Now, with the current adoption of a K-12 program, it's only this year that the Philippines will shift to a K-12 program. And I think most of the world are in that mode already. So now local schools are all the more in need of pedagogical frameworks and creative ideas to successfully deliver quality education to children in the digital age. Now, a handful of schools in the Philippines, however, strive to create program models and seek alternative approaches for effective and meaningful learning to happen in the local classroom. This is mainly due to the school's steady grounding on a progressive philosophy, which strongly supports a learner-centered curriculum and developmentally appropriate practices. Now, to date, we have 4 progressive schools in the Philippines explicitly making use of inquiry and project-based learning to do collaborative projects among their students. And hence, we welcome the shift of the DepEd to a K-12 program. Unlike most of the big schools in the Philippines, their solution is simply to accelerate students and then add another 2 years to the high school. Now, I do not know how that can actually happen because from what I know, when the Builder School started its program, we're looking towards the direction of the K-12. So this study examines one progressive school in the Philippines having social studies program which tackles valuable social studies concepts, content, and interdisciplinary skills through inquiry and project-based learning. So I'm involved in this school as a curriculum consultant, and what we do is I work as assistant professor in my open university, and I try out instructional approaches in this school, and then when I come up with a model, because I'm with teacher education, I share those findings with my students who are actually teaching in the public schools. Now that, for me, is a special and concrete way for me to affect change in a system that is very traditional. Now, if you look at progressive schools in the Philippines, it's at the opposite spectrum. We have big schools, which are highly traditional, both in the private and public school. And at the opposite end, you have small schools who do, we have multiple intelligence schools in the Philippines. We have IBO schools, and then we have progressive schools and Montessori schools at the other end. Now, what I've tried to do, because I've worked with the IBO before as a school teacher, my ongoing question then was whether inquiry and project-based learning can actually happen in a school which is very middle class. IBOs, who among here have heard of IBO schools? I think it's a good wave here in India because a friend of mine is involved in one school, and it takes really a lot of finances to make inquiry learning happen. Now, what we try to do in this school is create a model that can possibly work for children who have come from families of middle class income. So I'm here to describe the organizing themes, key concepts, and inquiry learning projects of a progressive school's social studies program. And I'd like to draw out an involving model of inquiry project-based learning suited for a K-8 and 9-12 progressive school. Okay. Now, just to give you a bit of an idea, current definitions of inquiry-based learning states that this kind of instructional design is learner-centered and it operates on the student's own questions and emphasizes skills in data gathering, hypothesis, problem-solving, and investigation. In fact, inquiry learning is often attributed to the educational ideas of Dewey, Piaget, Brunner, and Vygotsky, whose works find alignment in cognitivist and constructivist learning theories. Now, just to show you features of this social studies curriculum that has been set up in the Builder School, we've come up with these organizing themes which bind the social studies units. So it is inspired by the 4 pillars of learning, but it is grounded in Philippine history, culture, and global citizenship. So just to show you a sample of units that we've developed in a span of 5 years. So now we have, this is towards the upper grade levels, and you can see there in italicized portions would be standalone social studies units. But the ones in the white background would be the inquiry and project-based units that we envision to do for the next few years. No? At this point, the school is still at the K to 7, and next year we'll be having a grade 8. So you can imagine grade 8 students maybe having a trip to Malaysia, if we can find a sponsor to do that, and then try to explore our roots in that part of the world. And then, of course, at the end of, towards the end of the school year, we hope for students to come up with their own personal museum project. And just to show you how this builds up from the primary grades. So these are the other units we've tried to come up with. And what happened is that this is now, if it happened for the first few years of the school, now there's another cycle of project happening, meaning the earlier batches of students are now in the upper grades, and then we have primary grade level students now doing another cycle of these projects. Okay, and there. And this is from where it all started, from kinder going to grade 3 for the early grades, and then the other grade levels that you've seen already. So this has been a work in progress for the past 5 years, and we're finally able to iron it out and have our own scope and sequence, which is based on K12 schools in Canada and Australia. So it is very important for I guess, professors like us to be able to look out and grab all these best practices and come back to our own labs and practices in our own schools and see how to contextualize it. Okay, it is. I don't think it's our right to just get Dewey's ideas, get Vygotsky's, and then just produce a school just like that. Okay, it takes a lot of reflective work and thinking on the part of us teachers, because I still consider myself as a teacher. That's my background for the past 20 years. And for this model to work, of course, we need to find out what are the conditions which allow for this, this program to work. But just to show you briefly why I think it is working is because this is not working for a while. Okay, I'll just shift. I just need to show this to you briefly. Okay, now this is just how inquiry happens in our classrooms. Okay, we're able to do this because we have a small school population, and I believe that anything can happen if you keep the numbers down in your classes, and if you give that space to teachers to reflect on their learnings and create something new. I think wonderful things can happen in any classroom if we just downsize the numbers. I think 30 to 40 is a good size, but beyond 40, any kind of teacher training, any kind of technology is useless. And I know that because I've been teaching for 20 years in different setups. Okay, but now, why here at Digital Learning, no? Maybe you're asking why do this presentation here in India. Well, just to show you, this is the cycle of inquiry that we've already developed, a model. Of course, you'll see the Filipino version and the English version, and it has worked in our school for the past 5 years. Now, this is already, to me, a success story already, because it has told me, this study has told me that something from ideas or best practices from other countries can be replicated and contextualized in a setup that will allow it to happen for children coming from middle-class backgrounds. Now, of course, I'm moving towards new experiments and future directions. Now, what I've tried to do last summer when I came back from India was to experiment with this tool, WES IQ. So I set up 2 months of doing summer classes and projects with students, and I realized that if grade 2 or grade 3 children can work with this platform, I know I'll be able to use it with my students at the higher ed level. And because of that, it has opened new horizons and new directions for our school, because eventually we will be burdened not to share all these practices with other schools in the Philippines, because that's what it means to be in a developing country, right? Okay, we need to be able to create models and transform whoever, I mean, through any kind of partnership that we can forge. Now, another kind of experiment I tried to do was to run blended classes, but using Moodle. Now, this time it's an asynchronous classroom. Now, why this? Because eventually, I imagine a K12 program that can happen like this. You have a good pedagogical framework of doing inquiry and project-based learning from kinder to grade 5 children. And then at 6 to 8, you can start having blended classes. Maybe some of you may disagree that it's too late, but for me, I think it's just the right time to do it. And then from 9 to 12, we can move into the direction of doing open high schools. Now, I have to prepare my students to do all those kinds of learning. And actually, while doing the inquiry projects with them, I realized I have been preparing them already. I came to a point when I had my class, I was running a lesson on world religions, and then children just brought 4 gadgets to the classroom. They opened up their netbooks and just started doing their research, and in a week's time, they already gathered the information that they needed, and they're ready to plan and come up with their project outputs. So this is a big challenge to us, because I think in the end, we may have all these tools available, but if we don't have the conditions that will allow for these tools to be used effectively, no amount of change can happen. And I think if we just ensure that we have the right pedagogical framework, such as inquiry learning, then we will be able to do what we can within our classroom. So to close this study, I think for the most part of it, children eventually will learn to work collaboratively with friends and foes, and simply love to learn for the heck of it, so that they continue to embrace life and with what it all has to offer in their lifetime within the 21st century. I think in the end, it all boils down to that. Children should be able to love learning, and whatever tools will come their way, they will learn it because they have the capacity to learn it. Okay, so thank you very much.
Probably experiential learning is not embedded per se in the curriculum. And teachers are not ready for giving experiential learning to the students. And probably at this juncture, we need to very categorically recommend that experiential learning, the existing gaps need to be filled in, not only for our nation, but also for other countries. I don't know about the status of experiential learning, or what you call as inquiry and project-based learning in Philippines, but definitely there are a lot of gaps as far as India is concerned. What is the status or scenario in your done by the parents, of course, right?
Otherwise, we don't work with those schools or those potential partners, because it is clear with us that for anything to happen, there are certain conditions that have to be satisfied. Otherwise, it's a useless effort. That's what I think. Yes, we do. It's builderschool.org.
Yeah, I think as a chair, I would send a first email for having your replies. You know, it will be a blank email giving just the background of today's discussions and deliberations. And then I request all of you to just revert back so that we can have, once again, as he said, we can create a blog and then you can all be part of it. And we'll try to link automatically your email IDs in that blog. Whatever is coming into the blog, it will come probably onto your email as well. Please. Right. Right.
And when they reply, all of us will get it. And hopefully by the time the second email comes, we'll get the blog.
Right. I think that's a very well taken suggestion, and we would require his help as well. And I thank Ms. Jullet for giving an excellent presentation on K12 experiential learning and inquiry and project-based learning. Thank you very much.